Welcome everyone to the Marketing Blab. This is my Friday weekly session where I invite a guest. Those of you who have joined us before, thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I do this every Friday. And the idea behind the Marketing Blab is that we're talking about the art of engaging and of nurturing relationships, because I believe that marketing is about building relationships. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to do this. I'm Debra Jason, and I am the author of Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget and DebraJason.com. And one of the reasons I love Blab is because today I get to see somebody I haven't seen for a while. And if you were with me last week, my guest was Brian Johnson, and he and I do see each other on occasion because he's here in Colorado. But 2 weeks ago, my guest was Kim Garst, and Kim I have never met. So it was great to be able to at least see her face to face. So I want to introduce you to my guest today, who is actually here from Alaska. And Michelle and I met, Michelle, I think it was in 2011. And I was living in Hawaii, and Michelle was from Alaska, and we were at an event. And we became dear friends. Michelle has hosted me as a guest on her blog and on a webinar, and I've been on her webinars. So when I started my Blab, I said, will you please come and join us and share your expertise in blogging? Michelle is the girl blogger next door. So hi, Michelle. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invitation.
Well, how's everything going there in Alaska?
I am actually hanging out in California right now, so I am enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, and gorgeous weather.
Oh, well, that's cool. Where are you? San Diego?
I'm outside of LA.
Awesome. So Michelle is from Alaska, but she's joining us today from California. Isn't that the beauty of the internet? So what I want to ask
Gotta love it.
Well, and I think, somewhere in my file of videos, I have a video that I think I sent you just when I was like playing with video, that I think I might have said happy birthday or something in Hawaiian. I can't remember, but every so often it pops up on my screen. So it's great. Technology is not my strongest point, which is one reason I like Blab, because Blab is pretty easy to operate. So far, it has been for me. So I'm going to ask you to share your wisdom. And right now I'm tweeting the little bird out. And thank you. Kim said Michelle is an awesome blogger. So what I want to ask you first, Michelle, when did you start blogging?
When did I start blogging? Oh, let's see. I think it was 2008. Okay. So about March of 2008.
And what inspired you to start a blog?
Well, it was actually accidental. So I can't say I was really inspired to start a blog as much as I was getting a lot of the same questions from clients, because at the time I was doing website design and virtual assistants, that kind of stuff. And I would get my clients set up with their websites and help them with updates and things and get them ready to go online. But they all came back to me with, okay, I've got this great website, but now how do I get traffic to it? How do I get people to notice I'm online? What do I do next? Right. And a lot of marketing and promotion questions. And at the time, I also did a little bit of search engine optimization. And I knew a little bit about marketing from some of the clients that I was really blessed to work with early on in my business. And so I found myself answering the same questions over and over. And one day, finally occurred to me, if I save these responses somewhere, put them on a website, I can just send people the link, and if people are asking me these questions, how many other people have these same questions? So I installed WordPress, and I just started posting my answers to questions on there, not intentionally of I'm going to start blogging, more so it was I need a library of answers to questions that I can point people to.
Make it easy for you.
Exactly, yeah, and I was that's how my blog got started actually, and then I realized I was getting clients from it. People were contacting me who I didn't know, who had found me because they typed the same question into a search engine, landed on my blog, saw that I had the answer, so they got in touch and wanted to hire me. And I was like, wait a minute, something's working here. I don't know what I'm doing right, but I've accidentally figured something out, And then I started to look into, okay, what is blogging? How is this supposed to work? And I kind of figured out, how to make it work for me. And, my business really grew from there because I realized I could help so many more people through a blog than I ever could one-on-one. And so I kind of accidentally fell into blogging, which I think is kind of awesome, really, because to me, that just says, if I can accidentally make it work, anybody can do it, especially if you start with a plan and you have some goals around it. So that's how I got inspired to start my blog.
Well, and so that was 2008. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it took off right away, or did it take you time to build your community?
It took some time. Once I figured out that having a blog was an intentional decision I wanted to make, that this was something that was a good idea to focus some time and energy on beyond just sending people links and emails when I had an answer to their question. It was a challenge for me because I did a lot of things wrong in the beginning. I don't recommend anyone go back and read the beginning of my blog. I don't even like to go back and look at it.
Well,
I wrote.
I think we have a little bit of feedback, but let's stop there for a second, because I know on your blog you say that you share your mistakes because you don't want other people to make those mistakes. So what do you feel like early on were some of your mistakes?
Oh, there's so many, which, again, just goes to show all you got to do is get it in motion and you'll figure it out as you go along. One of the biggest mistakes I made, well, I'll give you three. One was I had that English teacher in my head, that every time I went to write something, I thought it had to be structured with an opening paragraph, several points to support it, all of which needed a topic sentence, 3 or 4 sentences, then a summary sentence, and then a summary at the end. I tried to write the way I had been taught in English class. Most boring blog post ever, that just doesn't work on the internet. People don't read that way. That's not how they want information presented, right? Mm-hmm. And so my blog was super boring. And I didn't understand that I was writing for readers. It was more, in my head, I was writing how-tos, but I wasn't thinking about who was going to be reading them and how they would understand the information. I had the wrong perspective on it. The other part of that I guess my second mistake was I was really afraid to reveal any of me in it, to put any personality into it, or to write in a way that connected with people. I thought I had to be professional. So professional to me was very boring. That was 2 of my biggest mistakes, not realizing that you can just write the way you talk, like you're having coffee with a friend, and then that it's okay to put my personality into it. And then the third mistake I made, and this really goes to what you wanted to talk about today, is I completely ignored comments on my blog. I ignored the idea of building a community. That just hadn't clicked yet in my head. That probably took a good year to click in my head. So if you've got that piece figured out, you're way ahead of where I was. It really, I didn't know what to do with comments. I mean, I saw them there, I approved them. I was like, oh, cool, somebody's reading. I didn't know what to say back, So a lot of that awkwardness stopped me from, making the right engagement choices on my blog. So those are 3 of the bigger mistakes I made.
So what shifted for you? When did you finally say, oh, you know what? Somebody commented and I guess I better respond.
There was a couple things that shifted that for me. Once I made that intentional decision, hey, this is something that I want to do, I started following other bloggers, because up until that point, and back in 2008, it wasn't as big as it is now. There weren't a lot of bloggers to follow. And I started watching what bloggers were doing that were really succeeding with it, that had a cool community. And I started noticing they were in their comments. They were replying to them. When I left a comment on their blog, this person replied to me. And what really drove that home was the way I felt. When I saw that somebody had replied to my comment, that they took time to answer a question I asked or to say thank you, I was like, I want my readers to feel that way. I want them to feel like I took time to acknowledge that I value the fact that they read it. And, that's why on Twitter a lot, you'll see me thank people for retweets and thank them for sharing. It's because I want them to know I appreciate that, And so it was really watching the other successful bloggers and learning to model their behavior. That's really how I figured out a lot of the pieces around blogging, was just trial and error and watching what works, which makes a huge difference.
Well, and that's awesome. You started, I forgot to mention to everyone, you started the Ultimate Blog Challenge. Mm-hmm. That was, probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago?
I believe we started
Or
that
more
in
than that?
2010, 2009 or 2010. It must have been 2010. So yeah, probably about 5 years.
And, the idea behind the Ultimate Blog Challenge was for people to, read each other's blogs and not just read them, but to comment and to share them and to really, you built a community around that, which is beautiful. And I love what you said, because I'm a big believer in this, whether it's on your blog or somebody likes something on your Facebook page or on your LinkedIn profile or your Twitter and they retweet, just say thank you. It doesn't have to be, a long response. It just is acknowledging them, just like here on Blab, where you click on the little hands. It's just your way to say, I appreciate you. I appreciate that you took time to read my blog, that you took time to comment. So I'm really a big believer in the gratitude piece and making sure you share that with your community.
And that's really the foundation of building a community around your blog is making the choice to keep your perspective focused on your reader, on your audience. So, if I sit down and think, this is what happened today that I want to blog about, I don't write it from the perspective of I'm going to vent about this. Although there are times I would love to just, post one serious event on my blog, but I stop and think, what's the value in this for my reader? What are they going to learn from it? What did I do wrong in the situation that I could have done differently? What lesson did I learn from it? You've read my blog, sometimes I post some pretty personal stuff that I've struggled with in business. And it's not my intention to post it in the sense of this really sucks when you're going through it and just kind of get that out, but more to say, for my readers, the value is, hey, somebody else went through this, they survived, here's how they did it, and get an engaged conversation going around it of people sharing, okay, I dealt with the same thing and I didn't know everybody else was too. And anything I post to my blog, I try to keep that perspective of how is this going to make my reader feel when they read it. And keeping in mind, people forget what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And that idea around blogging makes such a difference when it comes to building community.
Well, and I like that you shared that you do share a piece of yourself. But what you do is, in a way, I think, it's sort of compassionate, where you go, you know what, if I'm feeling this way, I bet you somebody else is too. And so that, the whole thing about storytelling, and that people can hear your story and not feel you're being narcissistic, or self-serving, but feel, oh my God, she went through that, so did I, and now she's sharing what she's learned on the other side, so that they get a lesson from it. And then they feel connected to you. Then they go, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Someone else is going through what I'm going through. Yeah, so I think it's beautiful that you do that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's beautiful that you do that. I think we have a little time lapse between my comments and you hearing me.
Yeah, I remember the first time I got brave enough to share something personal on my blog, and I was terrified. I don't know if anybody watching this had that moment where you write the post and you want to hit publish, but it's like, I don't know if I can hit that button, and I remember it took me a while, and I finally hit publish. And then I walked away from my computer and I was like, I can't, I need a break from it. I had written a pretty emotional post and shared some stuff that I wasn't sure how it would be received, because at that point I hadn't done a lot of personal experience sharing. And I remember 4 or 5 hours later, I came back to my blog and there were all these comments. And some of them were from people that said, I didn't realize other people struggled with this. I thought I was the only one going through it. And I'm shocked that somebody at your level of success dealt with this too. And that was a huge mindset shift for me to realize just sharing the struggles that you've been through, connect with people that powerfully that it inspires them to realize they can keep going. And that really changed the way that I looked at what I was sharing on my blog, made me more willing to share more of the personal struggles and the personal things that sometimes we might feel like, what are people going to think? Are they going to judge me if I share that I tried this and I totally failed or I screwed this up? And, as long as you're on the other side of it and you can say, here's how I got through it, it, I think, really builds a level of trust with your readers that they see, hey, you're a person just like me. You understand what I'm going through. And as you know, when people feel understood, you seek to understand before, it makes a big difference in the connection level that you're able to serve them at.
Well, you mentioned two things. the one thing that came up was the KLT factor, people getting to know, like, and trust you. And then also, that you understand and that your message, when I talk about copywriting, you've heard me say this, that your message needs to resonate with the people who read it, because if it doesn't, then they do leave. And so when you share a little bit of yourself and you have that vulnerability, then people do resonate with that, because they go, oh my God, she's human. And you said something earlier, I think you said, be you. And in my book, I talk about that. Just be yourself. And a lot of people talk about that. People talk about being authentic and being genuine. But it's really important to take that seriously and not just use it as a buzzword, but to really share a piece of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually one of my favorite parts of your book, where you talk about that, because I think, that's the thing that you've got that nobody else does is you. Somebody else may have your skill set. They may even have some of the same experiences, but they don't have your personality and they don't have your unique journey through life. And when you share those things openly, the right people resonate with that. And, for me, I love to find people to work with that I know have gone through what I'm dealing with right now. Because they can guide me through it in a different way. There's certain things that I could give you the how-to. I could say, do 1, 2, 3. I've seen it work for other people. But there's a different level of ability to teach that if you've actually done it yourself. Because then you can say, do 1, 2, 3. But also, here's the things you're probably going to hit along the way. And there's a different way that you can really empathize and connect with the people who are dealing with those. You can encourage them in a different way when you have that experience. So sharing that vulnerability and your process and your journey really makes a huge difference for people.
Well, and let me ask you this, because I kind of struggled with it when I first started doing a lot more speaking. But do you come across people who ask a question and you don't know the answer? I asked because, when I started speaking, which was many years ago, I thought, if someone asks a question and I say, I don't know, I'm going to look bad. Now, I don't worry about it. I just say, you know what? I don't know. But if I can find the answer for you, I'll help you do that. But it's okay, because that's being human, because we don't know everything. And you've mentioned more than once, I think, how you turn to somebody, as a role model or as a mentor, to learn from them.
Yeah.
So do you work with people on that level? Do you mentor or coach one-on-one or in groups?
You broke up a little bit there. What was the question?
A little bit. The question was, we were talking about, finding a role model or a mentor.
Oh, okay.
And I asked if you coach or mentor people today. I know you were for a while. I don't know if you still are doing that.
As far as running my own mastermind type groups, I'm not doing that right now. I do a lot of mentoring within some of the companies that I do consulting or work with. And I have a few private clients that have managed to talk me into it from time to time.
Please.
So I really do enjoy that. And, that's something that I'm very intentional about who I work with myself. And like you said, part of it is because you're never going to have all the answers. There is always room to grow, always room to learn. And, the more I grow and learn, the more I realize how much I have to continue learning. And it's so important to surround yourself with people who you can always learn from. I love the team that I'm working with right now, because I feel like everybody on the team has so many unique things that I can continue learning from them, from perspective to experience to just the amazing knowledge base that they've got. And so that's a lot of fun for me. Most of the training and mentoring that I do right now is within Empower Network and helping the bloggers there, which is just a blast for me. I love blogging. I love the community. So that's something that I really, really enjoy.
So tell us about the Empower Network. What is that? And is it something people that are watching today can participate in?
Oh, sure. I see Joe in chat, and I'm sure he would be happy to share a link with anybody who is curious about that. Empower Network is a company that offers a blogging platform called Kalatu that we designed to really make the whole blogging thing easier because if anybody's tried to install WordPress and find your theme and your plugins and all that stuff on your own, it can be like overwhelming to the point you just want to pick up the computer and throw it out the window. Yeah. So it's a company that provides a platform designed for businesses, and there's a lot of plugins and features built in that really are for entrepreneurs, to put everything into one place, and you've got somebody you can call for support. That's one of my favorite things about it, is you can pick up the phone or you can send an email and have a real person help you, instead of your host saying, well, you installed WordPress, we don't support that. You have to figure it out on your own, because if you're not a technology person, trying to figure that out on your own is just, it's not where your time and focus should be. Yeah, I see that expression. Yes.
That's me.
It's amazing we have any hair left some days, right? So, yeah, but it's a great community, and we run blog challenges inside it, and a lot of fun stuff. But yeah.
So if people want to find out about that, can you or Joe type the link in the comment box for them to access that?
Absolutely.
That would be cool.
Joe, do you have that link?
We'll take a look at that.
I
see
sure
Joe's in there.
Yep.
Okay, so Joe, feel free.
But it's a lot of fun, and I do some of my own webcasts and things from time to time. I'm at some point within the next month or so going to be launching a weekly webcast that'll be open to everybody. So I just got to get that scheduled and get it happening, because you
can do a blog. You can do a blab.
I could. I want to consider that. That would be a lot of fun. This is not as difficult as I thought it might be.
No, it's, and like I said, you were just talking about technology. I am not a techno geek. So for me, it's simple to just get on here, click the button. I'm monitoring the comments. I'm checking the tell a little bird thing. So that's, it's hard to pay attention to everything, but it's so easy in the big picture compared to some other platforms. So consider it after today's Blab. For those of you that are just jumping on, this is Michelle's first Blab. I remember when I did my first Blab, it was with, I think she was on, I don't know if she's still here, Lisa Gergetz. And we talked about being Blab virgins. So you've now lost your virginity to Blab, and I'm happy to have you here as my guest doing that. For those of you who are listening in, if you have questions, I've opened up a seat, or you can join in and get on the Blab wagon, or you can type in a question in the comment box. So if you'd like to jump on one of the seats, feel free. All you have to do is click on the box that says there's an open seat. Joe has posted the link to the Kalatu blog. Is it that how you say it? Kalatu?
Kalatu is the name of the blogging platform. Oh, cool. Yeah, he posted it. The other link that he posted is an opportunity. So if you're looking for a home business, that would be one to check out.
Okay. Yeah. So I see Truther Hype TV or something. Awesome. Well, we do have somebody jumping on board. This is my dear friend. Her name is Wynn.
Can you hear me?
Kelly Charles.
I lost your audio.
Let's try this. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sometimes when we have glitches like this, we have to sign out and come back in. So stay tuned. We're working on it. Michelle's trying to jump back on board. Hopefully, can you all hear me? Check. Hi, Andrea. I see that you just there you are.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now I can hear you.
Okay. So we had a question, but Wynn left the room. So here she is. She's back. So this is Wynn. Wynn was born with cerebral palsy, and she's an author and a CEO of her own jewelry company. So we're going to bring Wynn. She's calling in. I think she's probably... Hi, Wynn.
Hi. And I had a question for Michelle. I have a podcast, but should I take the podcast and audio and transcribe them into the written word somehow and start a blog. What do you guys think?
So the question, Michelle, can you hear me? Michelle, can you hear us? I think Michelle lost the audio again. Let me type in the question.
I can hear you, Debra.
Oh, okay.
That would be awesome.
Wynn's question was, she has a podcast. Should she take the audio, have it transcribed, and use it on her blog?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would also, include the audio with it on your blog. Any content that you create, repurpose it as many different ways as you can. There's a blog post somewhere on my blog if you search for reuse or repurpose content with a checklist of 30 different ways you can reuse content like that. Because when you do that, then, people prefer different formats. So some people are going to prefer to subscribe to the podcast, get it through iTunes. Some people may prefer to subscribe to your blog and get it written so that they can sit and read it. Just depends on how they like to look at information. So absolutely, anything like that you create, look for ways to reuse it and get it out there in different formats. Let's see, so Debra, my screen says audio only.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to jump out and come back in. Stay tuned.
Oh, and now we lost Debra. You got to love live technology.
Okay, so can you see me and hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay, there's a little bit of a time lapse in the audio. But yes, as you said, this is technology, and Blab is in the beta phase. So they're still working out the kinks here and there. But I see we have, Joe says he can hear us both, but he lost our cameras. So one thing I have found is that Chrome seems to be the best browser to use. So if you're having trouble and you're using Firefox or something else, you might jump off and go back and try Chrome. So we have somebody here who wants to jump on board and ask a question. We've got Andy. Let's see if we can, there he comes.
Cool.
Hi, Andy. Okay. We're going to not take Andy's question at this time. Yes, so Steve is saying refresh is always a good idea. If you're having trouble with audio or video, try refreshing your screen or going out and coming back in. So Andrea says she's got both audio and visual, and she's on Chrome. So hi to Andrea Feinberg, who I know Michelle met years ago at that event as well.
Yeah.
Andy said, sorry, he lost his connection. I'm reading some of the comments. Hey, Mike, you want to jump on board? Let's see. We lost Michelle. Yes, sometimes it is people's internet connections. Headsets are not necessary, Andrea, but sometimes I find that when I've done a Blab without a headset, people say there's some feedback. So I test. Hi there, Michelle's back. Andrea was asking about using headsets for a Blab. And sometimes it works better, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it helps with feedback. We've got my buddy Mike Baltus, who's a social media enthusiast, and he's going to jump on board.
Hey,
he actually
ladies,
has some good tips about Blab. There he is.
Hey, ladies,
Hi,
how are
Mike.
you guys?
Have you ever met my friend Michelle?
No, I have not. Welcome to the platform. We're glad you're here. How long have you been on the platform, Miss Michelle?
Today's her first one.
Oh, I see. Congratulations. And she has no audio. Michelle, what I want you to do is go ahead and refresh. If you're on a Wi-Fi connection from your home, that's mainly what people's challenges are.
So you're saying it's better to have a hardwire connection?
Yeah, actually it is. And if you're going to be the host or hostess of Blab, it's a great idea to go ahead and shut any ancillary things you're not using, like any, like Skype, anything else that may be open. If you're going to be the host or hostess, go ahead and shut those down just for the, the hour that you're going to be here on the platform and enjoying yourselves. And that'll adds the processing speed for your computer, because that's one of the things that people don't realize is Chrome is a resource hog, and then you build a WebC or real-time chat RTC product on top of it, and you end up getting a little bit of lag there. So if you're going to host or hostess, please go ahead and shut down any ancillary apps you're not using or don't need, and then if you can, hardwire into the back of your modem into your laptop or whatever, and that'll work well. And headsets are always a great idea. That, as Debra mentioned, it does help with the friction as far as the communication goes in the echo. So, Michelle, let's see if we got your audio back yet. Nope.
No.
Ooh. Michelle, up in the URL box, you'll see a little camera icon. Go ahead and click on that. And you'll have a select menu that pops down, and click on whatever microphone you choose to use, whether it be on your laptop or whatever you want. And then refresh again. And you may have to close down Chrome completely if you're on a Windows product. Close down Chrome completely and come back in. Wow.
Whoa, now I see her picture in the comments section.
Yeah. I see that too.
I've never seen that before. That's interesting. Thanks for your help, Mike.
Miss Debra, why don't you go ahead and block that person, dear?
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
You're back. Yeah, Miss Michelle, you're back.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Welcome back.
I switched to Firefox.
Yeah, Firefox
really?
also works on the platform. It is a little glitchy, but it does work in case you need it. Chrome is obviously the platform they built on top of. So
cool.
Nikki, yes, there are a lot of people on the platform right now, and there are a lot of new people testing some boundaries and spaces of patience with other people. Some people call them trolls. Some people call them disruptors. Everybody's just kind of doing it.
Or an opportunity for patience.
Yes, and
yes.
Elise is curious, but you're right, Jenny. Unfortunately, people are making and identifying themselves as other prominent platform users, and they're coming out and being disruptive right now. Safari does not work on Blab at all because it is not a web RTC-based platform, so real-time chat. So anyway, hi, Michelle. Sorry about the disruption. It can derail you a little bit, but welcome to the platform. What do you think so far? Yes. So apparently she's having connection issues.
Can you hear us, Michelle?
Nope.
Michelle, can you hear us? Oh, okay. So Mike was asking you, how do you like the platform so far?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay.
Right. Yeah. Well, welcome to the platform. There's lots of people here to help you. It's really cool. Yeah.
Other than the delay that seems to be happening, I love that we can see the audience chat on the side here and bring them on camera.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a fun platform.
I'm sorry, but I'm actually seeing Michelle's image in the comments section. So that's a new one. I don't know how that happened. Someone else, Steve, is saying there's been a significant delay on Blab today. So it seems that we're having some of those Blab issues as well.
Most likely Chrome has had an update, and the Blab team is rewriting the code for it. So
awesome.
That's normally what happens. So the guys stay up all night long and all day long and try and stay ahead of their learning curve, the operational metrics curve, but it doesn't sometimes work. But welcome. Glad to have you guys here. If you have any questions, reach out. Debra, or what are you thinking, Debra? Are you having fun other than a few technical glitches? Kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I was telling Michelle early on that it's been a great platform, and since my platform for Blab is about building community and the art of engaging and building relationships, I think it's been really great for that, because today, for example, you're online and you're getting to meet Michelle, who you've never met before. I've been on Blabs where there have been people in England who I've never met, and we get to finally meet each other face to face. So it's a great way for building relationships. I find it's really valuable that way.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people find some strategic partners and strategic alliances created for business purposes. And then we've also had some very successful philanthropic opportunities here. We've raised monies for different charities and different individuals on Blab itself. The most successful to date was a couple weekends ago when we raised over $4,000 for a young man with cerebral palsy that is here on the Blab platform, who is 14 years old. And we were able to get him a new computer, a new MacBook Pro, and everything else. And that's actually being built up this weekend right now in real time in Las Vegas. We're getting ready to ship it down to him in Phoenix. So, yeah. Neat stuff happening all over the place.
Yeah, well, it's a great place for building community. And that's what we're talking about today. Mike, are you a blogger?
Not so much. I had so much. I just finished college, so enough of my writing in academia was with white paper research and everything else. I've kind of burned down on writing. I may pick it back up for fun, but give me a few months.
Well, Michelle, what would be your tips for someone like Mike who's saying, well, I'm not blogging, but maybe I'll do that in a few months? Would you say wait, or would you say, oh, go ahead, just dive in?
Well, I always think it's a good idea to dive in, but look at an approach that works for you. I mean, if Blab is something you're on a lot, I saw somewhere there's a replay feature. I'm guessing there's probably a way to either link to them or embed them in a blog. So you might just start using a blog to share your Blabs that you have been putting out there. I think a lot of people don't start a blog because they think it all has to be written and they've got to post every day. And you can totally do what works for you in format, in frequency, all of that. Just gives people a great way to follow you and stay caught up with what you're doing and be able to search through the archives and find your advice on different things.
I agree. Yep. You just have to figure out where your area is. I play on Medium, and that's about my own blog platform right now. So.
Mm-hmm. And Michelle, to answer your question, yes, there are replays. When the Blab is over, it automatically shows up on your Blab channel as a replay. And you can, when you, as the Blab host, when you're done, it gives you a little button that says upload to YouTube. Now,
oh, that's awesome.
Talk about technology, though. So far, every time I've clicked on that upload to YouTube button, it hasn't uploaded. So I have a message with the folks at Blab. So I end up just uploading it on my own, which takes some time. But yes, so you can repurpose it. And by the way, you can download the audio separate from the video. So you have two different files that you can use, both audio and video, and you can repurpose those. So right now I'm posting them all on YouTube. So I have a playlist on.
That's really cool. And yeah, I love that, because that really, again, ties back into what you're talking about with building community, because when you look at where's your community at, if you're doing it right, you're going to have people following you on all these different platforms as far as social media, and being able to take your content from here that you're creating and share it on YouTube so your subscribers there see it, and share it on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else really is a great way to continue engaging and building your community. So that's cool. I will definitely have to check this platform out a little more.
Yep.
So there are a couple of questions coming in. So for those of you who aren't familiar, if you have a question, one way to highlight it is before you type in the question in the comment box, use a slash and a Q. And that way it will pop up question, and it'll be more recognizable to me when I'm checking the comments. And we have a question. I'm going to open up this seat. This is our friend Andrea, who's calling us from the East Coast. And if you want to stay on board for right now, Mike, you're welcome to.
Now I'm going to go enjoy our marvelous Colorado sunshine. I'm going to go jump on my bicycle right now.
Okay. Well, thanks for jumping on board and working through some of the technical glitches with us. Bye, Mike. Whoops, Andrea.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey,
Very well. Hey, Michelle. Wave. Thank you. So I had a question for you. I know, Debra, you've done this a couple of times, and I would compare this to a Google Hangout and was wondering what you consider the pros and cons of these two tools.
So here's my point of view on it. Earlier on when we got on the show today, I said I prefer Blab, mostly because I think were on one of the shows, Andrea, where we tried to test a Google Hangout.
It was tough.
It was tough and it was glitchy. And today we're having some glitches, but I find this is still so much easier than a Google Hangout. And what I also like is this is limited to 4 seats. So right now, as you saw, I start off with myself and my guest, and we do sort of an interview format. And then I can open up the other seats for people to come and go. My experience when I've been on a Google Hangout is there can be a lot of open seats, and there gets to be too much going on and not as easy to monitor and facilitate. So I'm a much bigger fan of this just because of the ease of use. And this is Michelle's first Blab, so.
You're doing great, Michelle. Would you consider this, because it has few seats, would you consider this a good tool for teaching, for a workshop, for a host, and then to periodically open up a couple of the vacant seats for questioners or partners?
Well, here's the thing. When you have a Blab, anybody can jump on board. So right now, there's no way to have like a private Blab. For example, if you have a mastermind, you can tell your mastermind group about it, but anyone can go on Blab, see what's on air, and jump on board. So if you want to do it for private purposes, like a mastermind group or something like that, keep in mind that it's not going to be private. At least it doesn't have that function right now. So, for example, a colleague of mine wanted to do her first Blab, and so we did a test. Well, we thought it was just going to be she and I, but it was on air, and we had people, we had no idea who they were that were jumping on board. And it turned out to be okay. It was fun, but we had 1 or 2 that were a little sketchy. You do have to be careful. And Steve Harris is saying, will there be a private Blab? I can't answer that for sure, but I've been told that Blab is considering that as an option. But right now, it's not an option to do a private one. So it's open to anyone that comes on board. And TV Steve, just so you know, when you want to ask a question, type in a / and a Q, and then your question, and it will pop up. Michelle, I saw you tested that. It highlights a box that says question, so it's a little easier for us to see. And Nikki is calling out that about the props. I don't know if you're familiar with the props, Andrea, but there's 2 little hands at the bottom of each screen. And those
I see those.
Yeah, so those are called props, and I call them applause. So if you like something I say or something Michelle says, or you agree with it, you can give that person props. It's just a way to cheer them on.
And what are the little bubble faces that are popping up in our screens?
That's somebody giving props.
Cool.
Oh, that's nice.
So if I click on the hand, you'll see my picture. So those are props.
There you are. Well, that's really nice to get such positive feedback in the moment.
We're going to say, Kim is saying goodbye. It was great to see you again, Michelle. Kim has to get off the air. So thanks, Kim, for being here. I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. If anyone wants to jump on the open seat. Nikki is saying that the props actually started out as being called feels. So I think some people thought that was a little, feel me up kind of. So they changed it to props.
Well, I'm going
sometimes things can have an interesting meaning.
I'm going to relinquish my seat and let you take back control. This has been fun. I have found this very easy to get on, to participate, to follow the conversation, to inquire, and then to see the corresponding responses in the question column. That's been very easy. And I just got on because I just got Michelle's email. and just clicked on the link, and there you both were.
Well,
so thanks so much. Nice to see smiling faces.
Thanks for jumping on board, and everybody.
Awesome. It was great to see you.
Thanks, Michelle. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Debra.
Bye-bye. So everyone, this is the Blab, the Marketing Blab with Debra. This happens every Friday. And sometimes it's at 11:30 Mountain Time. Sometimes it's at 1 o'clock. It depends on my guest and what time works for them. Don't forget to tell the little bird. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction. When you tell a little bird, when you click on that box, it tweets out that you're on the Blab and tells other people to come join us. So TV Steve Harris just did that. Thank you. And Nikki James just did that. It seems like most of you know about props and giving props. Thank you, Ray. So, Michelle, let's go back to our topic of blogging and building community. What would be your number one tip, or number two, if you have more than one, for somebody that's saying, you know what, I'm blogging, but I don't feel like I have a community. What should I do?
Okay, so my first suggestion for you is to stop and define it. There's a process or an exercise called empathy mapping. And if you go Google it, or better yet, YouTube search it, you'll see people explain how to do what's called an empathy map. But basically, it's a more in-depth way of defining who your reader, who your audience, who your community is. Because a lot of people that I talk to, when they're not getting comments, they're not getting engagement, they don't feel like their blog is working, I ask them, well, who's your reader? And they're not really sure. They can't really define it. And I'm not just talking about, 25 to 35-year-old woman who lives here, does this, and not just demographics, but what's called psychographics. And when you go through an empathy map exercise, you figure out really not just who is your reader, but what do they see when they wake up in the morning? What do they feel as they're going through their day? What are they hearing? Who are they talking to? What's encouraging them? What's discouraging them? What are they struggling with? What are their biggest fears? And what's their biggest goals and dreams in life? And when you define your audience that way, number one, it will motivate you like you would not believe. Because, you do get discouraged when you don't feel like that community is there. But when you go through an exercise like that and you remember, hey, this is who I'm here to help. This is who I want to serve. This is what they're struggling with. This is what they really want, and I can help them get there. It helps you to stay motivated to keep going and push through that learning curve, that phase of, am I doing this right? Is anybody listening? And the other thing that an exercise like that does is once you have that really well defined, it's super easy to come up with blog topics that aren't just sometimes it feels forced when you sit down and you go, I got to write a blog post, or am I going to write about, but instead when you approach it with that inspiration of, I know this is going to help somebody if I write about XYZ today, you're going to be more motivated to get it out there bigger, to share it, and it's going to resonate with the right people. And that's how you're going to start building that community, is when you can really connect to what are those fears, those things that they're afraid are going to happen, as well as their really big desires. So that's the first thing I would recommend, is stop where you are right now, sit down and do an empathy map exercise. Really define who it is that your community is. Because if you don't know who you're looking for, how are you going to know what's right about, and how are you going to know where to find them? Because most of the time when I talk to people who have that struggle of they don't feel like they have a community around their blog, there's two problems. One is that they haven't defined their audience. And number two is they're not promoting their blog the right way. I tell people, when you hit publish on your blog post, you're just getting started. Your work's not done. You don't get to go you can go take a coffee break, but you got to come back and finish it, which is the promotion side of it. You've got to get out there and get your blog post in front of people. It surprised me when I started coaching and teaching around blogging. I thought I'd be teaching people how to write blog posts. Turns out that's not where most people are stuck. They're stuck with, how do I get people to read them? How do I get out there and promote it without feeling spammy on social media and other places? And so that's really the key when you're looking at how do you get a community started, is you've got to be out there confidently sharing your blog posts, because you know they're going to help people if you get them in front of the right people. So if you put your heart into writing that post, it deserves to be read. It deserves for people to see it, so that they can get that help that they need. And you really got to get what's called a promotional plan together. And that's something that, I've actually got a written checklist that I go down every time I hit publish. I go down and there's 10 or 15 things I do on every single post, and then there's another 5 or 10 that I do on some posts. And it's everything from, sharing it on Twitter, scheduling tweets, to, sending an email to friends that I know could use the post, or asking a friend to promote it for me, or, there's a lot of different things that I do to promote my blog posts. And that's where the real work is, and that's where you really start to build that community, is you get in front of your ideal readers where they're already at. So instead of expecting them to just come find your blog, which can happen if you really like search engine optimization and you want to deal with that, that's not my thing. But if you go find them where they're already at, connect with the community and show them your blog, get in front of them where they're already reading, where they're already active, you get that community around your blog. So really it's about plugging into the right community and then letting them know you're there. Those are the 2 tips that I would give if you're not feeling like you've got that around your blog right now. And then, of course, take care of them once you have them.
Yes. So as you were saying earlier, if someone comments on your blog, respond. Even if you just say thank you for sharing your thoughts, go back and let them know that you read what they posted. And we have a question here from, where did it go? TV Steve Harris says, a video is a blog, right? So
a video is a blog. Well, it can be. You can do a vlog, a video blog. Absolutely.
Yeah, and actually when I've posted videos, some people call it vlogging, VLOG. So you post a video in your blog with a little bit of content, and then people watch the video. So yeah, you can do that, Steve. That's a great way to put information up on your blog. And somebody who was it, Steve Shannon, said he practiced on easing articles.
Cool. Yeah, the really awesome thing about video is that it connects in a different way than written blog posts do. I was absolutely terrified the first time I posted a video to my blog. I mean, like, beyond all reason, terrified. I don't know if I thought the universe was going to explode, or I was afraid of the feedback, right? And what amazed me was when I started doing a few video blog posts, the reaction I got from people was totally different. They're like, oh, I get you now. I understand your personality a little better. When I read your blog post now, I can imagine your voice, and it connected with my audience in a different way. I really, really highly recommend that even if you don't regularly video blog, that from time to time you do post a video, or you do get on something like this, Blab, right? I think I got the name right. Or Periscope, or Meerkat, or video on Facebook or YouTube, or wherever you choose for your video platform to be, because it is a different level of connection and community building to be able to get in front of a camera, and it's a little bit less filtered, honestly, version of you when you can't sit there and edit. Whatever comes out comes out.
Well, and there's 2 people who have questions, I think. One of them is me, because I know you did a video challenge, wasn't it, where you were going to do like 100 videos in 72 hours?
Yes.
So how did that go? Did that help you build community?
It was awesome. One of the great things about challenges from a personal standpoint is it really forces you to push through any resistance and fears that you have. I did it partially because I'm still not that comfortable on camera. I get really, really nervous. And especially when I'm doing my own videos, because I can stop and edit, I will get super stuck in editing. I'm like, wait, no, redo it. And so it was 100 videos in 72 hours. And that sounded absolutely insane to me, but I thought, you know what? I am always challenging other people to get out of their comfort zone and do things like blog every day. So I'm going to try this one and see what it's like to be on the other side of that challenge for once. And, it was really challenging. Actually, I didn't quite get them done in 72 hours, partially because of the timing during the week versus when I was working. But I took my weekend then. And in about 72 hours, I think I got like 90 of the videos done. I had done a few earlier when the challenge started, and my YouTube channel exploded. it was great because it forced me to sit down and come up with a lot of ideas. Thinking of 100 videos, what in the world am I going to talk about? And the approach I took was two things, really. First, I thought, okay, I like to teach blogging, so I'm going to sit here, I'm going to do a series of tutorials on how to do different things within your blog, because that's something I already knew. So if you pick something you're familiar with, it's a lot easier to write your blog post, to do videos. And the other thing I did was I just went to Facebook and I went, hey, guys, I'm doing 100 videos. What would you like to hear me share or talk about? And the cool thing about that is some of the stuff that people requested, I never would have thought of. But it was great because when you ask people, hey, what can I help you with? What can I be of service with? You realize not just what they're struggling with, because they'll tell you that, but also what they see as areas that you can offer value in that you might not have realized that you're inspiring people around. And that's really cool because most of the questions I got actually weren't technical WordPress questions. They were more related to mindset and pushing through to the next level in business and things like that, which that was really cool for me to see that people appreciated hearing my perspective on that. So yeah, it was a crazy challenge. The community side of it was fantastic because one of the things that happens when you've got a whole bunch of people all working towards a seemingly almost impossible, slightly insane goal is that, there's a level of motivation between everybody. And if you guys are following me on Facebook, you probably saw me and Desmond and a few other people going back and forth, Lynn Brown, like, I got another video done, and we're tagging each other, and it was a lot of fun to have that motivation of other people going through, again, the same thing that you're going through. And it didn't matter that, our videos were different. We all have very different personalities, or that, we took different approaches to it. It was something that we were able to learn from each other too. I posted because, again, I've been doing this a little while. So one of my intentions with it was, if I'm going to do 100 videos, I'm going to get some mileage out of this. I'm going to get, people to see them. Mm-hmm. So one of the very first things I did was post on Facebook, hey, I'm about to do this. Are you following me in XYZ places yet? And get people to subscribe to my YouTube, to subscribe to my blog, make sure that, they're connected with me different places, because one of the cool things about community is that with all the opportunities we have online, with so many different touch points, in addition to the know, like, and trust thing, they say you need to have so many exposures to somebody before they want to work with you, before they really do trust you and feel like you know what you're doing. And when you've got somebody on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on your list, those touch points happen so much faster that you can really build that trust really, really fast. And get to a level to where you can help someone sooner, because if somebody doesn't trust you, they don't feel like you know what you're talking about, and they don't feel like you understand them, they're not ready to learn from you yet. They're not ready to accept any guidance or advice that you could give them. So it's really key to be able to build that with people. And that's one of the things that, when I posted that and got people to connect with me other places, other people in the challenge went, oh, I should do that too. And so that's one of the aspects I love about community, is there's so much we can learn from each other, and be motivated by, and, just continue our own personal learning and growth. So that was a very long answer, but it was an awesome challenge.
Well, I had opened up the seats for people to ask questions, and then we got into the whole video thing. So I know that the seats can be locked. Sherry, thank you for sharing that. But I didn't want to just close people out. So we're running short on time. I don't want to take up too much of Michelle's time, but Donovan's been waiting to ask a question. And Donovan works with parents. And so I'm going to bring him in. And if you have time, Michelle, we'll have this last question.
Absolutely.
Hey, Donovan.
Hello. Hello.
Hey.
I'm just actually finishing up my lunch break and thought I'd check in. Saw my personal email you guys are doing this, so I thought I'd pop in and say hi. Say hi.
Awesome. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. So with all these bazillions of touch points, like, how would you rank them? Here's a brand new one that you're playing with. And like, what would you say they want to hammer home, and maybe that you can't just generalize for everybody, but I do coaching and I work with parents of teenagers.
So that's a great question, because there are constantly so many new platforms popping up and so many different ways that you can be in touch with people, right? So there's really three things that I would say. Number one, remember that your list is always your best touch point and your biggest asset. always be building your list. I was in business for almost 10 years before I started a list. Huge. Probably the biggest mistake I made in business was waiting that long to start building a list. I didn't think I needed one. I was a service provider. I had clients. It didn't click for me that this is pretty key to building a sustainable, ongoing business, right? And a community. And then I finally started a list and it's grown. But always remember, no matter what platform you're on, everything needs to drive back to your blog to get people on your list. So that's number one. That's always going to be your best touch point, your biggest asset, because that's never going to disappear. You always have that, as opposed to, platforms that come and go. We've seen some that were supposed to be gigantic and they kind of fizzled out. Others that disappeared overnight. Others that, we didn't think was really going to be big, and boom, here they are. So always your list is your first focus. The second thing I would say is look at where your community's at. So that's where I start, is which platform has my audience. For somebody like me, MySpace never has been a great choice. LinkedIn would be a better choice for me. Twitter is a great choice. Facebook works for almost everybody. Look at who it is you're looking for and where they're hanging out, where they're engaging. And then based on that list of where your audience is at, my third filter, and this is where my perspective is a little bit different, is what do you enjoy? Yeah. Because one of the things that I see a lot of business owners do is feel like they need to be on maybe LinkedIn because that's where professionals are, but they hate LinkedIn. They can't get the hang of it. It's confusing. They've tried info products and they still don't get the hang of it. And I have these conversations with people and I'm like, well, give yourself permission not to do it, because it's not the only option. Find something you enjoy. I am on Twitter a lot because I love Twitter, but it's not for everybody. And so if somebody wants to use Twitter, I'll be happy to help them with that. But I'm not going to say you absolutely must be on Twitter. It's something that I think for you to be motivated to engage there, you need to enjoy it. So that's the other tip I would offer is, pick the ones that you really have fun with. Because then when you wake up in the morning, it's not going to be, oh, there's another thing on my to-do list. It's going to be, woohoo, I get to go to Twitter and play, and that energy comes across on the different networks. So that's my 2 cents on today.
Great answers, Michelle. Love it.
Yeah, and I would totally agree. When people ask me that, they're like, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? I say, where are your people hanging out? And where do you enjoy being? So, if you don't enjoy being there, then you're not going to do it. So you might as well have some fun while you're at it. So thanks for that question.
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'm an entrepreneur. One of the reasons is because I want to do my own thing. I want to enjoy my business. I want to wake up in the morning excited. And if I've got things on my list that I feel like I have to do that I dread, not only am I not enjoying what I'm doing, my energy's down. It's not going to be great for my clients if I show up to the things that I need to do with them and I'm drained because I'm forcing myself to do things that aren't natural for me. But in addition to that, what's the difference between this and going and getting a job where somebody else tells me what to do? I'm going to do what I enjoy because it's that's why I'm in business for myself. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to have fun doing it. And I want that energy to come across so that my clients have fun too. And that's a huge part to me of the value in running your own business. So yeah, that's I think it's huge that you have that option. I see a couple of questions. Do you mind if I answer them in the chat over here?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Andrea asked if I recommended Comment Love or another app for blog comments. Absolutely. Some of you, if you've been following me long enough, know I love Comment Love to the point that I won their affiliate contest a few years ago. I'm a huge fan of Comment Love because it does help you build that community. If you're not familiar with it, it's a plugin that allows you to display the last blog post that your commenter posted. So instead of just their name being linked to their blog, you can let them have that link to their last blog post, or depending on your settings, one of their last 10 blog posts. It's really customizable. The cool thing about it from a perspective of the blog owner is when I scan through my comments, I can see what my community is talking about really easily. I can see also, is it something that I can click through and maybe contribute to the discussion on their blog? So it's a really cool way to connect with them. For my community, the value is they get a link to from my blog. Somebody's way more likely to click, especially if they've learned to write good headlines. Somebody's way more likely to click that than to click their name and check them out. So that's absolutely one of my, if not my top favorite plugin, it's definitely in the top 3. Absolutely recommend it.
And there was a question about headline analyzers. Do you use a headline analyzer?
Do I use it? You know, there's a really cool emotional analyzer for headlines that I'm familiar with. I've played with it from time to time. I don't use it too much anymore. A lot of my headlines I follow specific formulas for. I have a download on my site somewhere that's like 43 headline templates, I think. For me, the emotion of headlines definitely matters. You know, I try to write them from the perspective of what's the key point, and this is going to get somebody to click through. You know, what's really the value with it. The emotional headline analyzer, though, is a really cool tool. It's a lot of fun to play with, and things like that can really help you learn to write better headlines. The best advice I can give you, though, if you're struggling with headlines or you're not sure what to write, 2 things. Number 1, go look at the top 5 blogs in your niche, and go look at their most popular posts. What are the headlines? That's going to tell you what people are clicking and what they're interested in. It'll help you when you learn to model that in your own headlines. And number 2 is test different headlines. Easiest way to do that, and one reason I'm a big fan of Twitter, is that with something like Hootsuite, I will go in and for one blog post, I'll write 5 different possible headlines, right, when I'm brainstorming the post. I use those then as tweets, spaced out, and then I see, they all link to the same blog post, which one got the most clicks. Now, you can get really scientific with that, and time of day and things do matter, but in general, it's a great way to just see what's getting retweeted, what's getting a response, and that alone will help you learn to write better headlines that people respond to. So those are, a couple of things. Yeah, co-schedule is also cool. I see Laura Lee posted that.
Yes, and there's a guest blog post that you did on my blog. It's on there today that has 2 links. And I think one of those links leads to your headline resource. You've got a great resource for that. So if people visit, the link is in the comment section for that. We've been on air for a little over an hour now, and so I don't want to take up Michelle's whole afternoon. But Michelle, if you have time, we can take more questions. If not, we'll sign off.
Oh, sure.
I don't see any other questions. Okay, so if anyone has a question that wants to jump on board, I know somebody was trying earlier and they kept kind of going in and out. So anyone that wants to jump on board with a question, or you just want to say hi, I know we have a few familiar faces here. Cindy at CalMarks Design and Stephanie Callahan is on board today. So thank you all for being here.
I saw another question up here, if I can find it. Let's see.
You can find it in the comment box.
Andrea asked about empathy maps, if I consider that distinct from target audience. And I would say, looking at empathy mapping, it's just a different level of understanding your target audience. It's more taking one avatar and really, really defining, everything about that person. And it's extremely valuable. It goes much more into depth. And if you Google psychographics, you'll also find similar info about it and how to really understand your audience from that perspective. Super, super valuable for bloggers. I think every blogger needs to run through that exercise. It will completely change the way that you blog. And when you keep a copy of that near, on your wall or near your computer, it'll help you stay motivated. When you really look at those things that your audience is struggling with, that you have the answers to. It motivates you to keep going, to get it out there because you can help them. So, yeah.
And we have one more question.
Sure.
From Donovan. He says, what's the key to go from unknown to widely known? Is there a key, actually, is probably the question.
That is a fantastic question. And, boy, let's see. What would my response to that be? There's I think 2 things that really are key in that when you're looking at going from just getting started to that level of, people recognize you, they know who you are. And it's really interesting when you start to hit that level, I walked into a hotel one time and somebody recognized me. And I was like, I was blown away. It was the strangest experience.
You're famous.
When I'm at an event, I expect those people to know me in the room. I'm going to be on stage, I'm speaking. Yeah, they know who I am. They've seen me on Hangouts. They've seen me, but when I'm like just doing my own thing personally, and somebody walks up to me and goes, "Hey, I read your blog," I'm like, I don't know how to process this at the moment. And
I'm famous.
And I know it's very surreal. But I think there's really 3 parts of that. One is just determination and consistency. It's just, you set a goal and you don't give up. When you find what your purpose is and you really feel like you are on this planet for a reason and you just are determined to go for that and to do what you're here to do, and stick with it no matter how long that takes you, and I think that's part of it, is just the being willing to work hard for it. I think part of it is intentionally making the right connections. That's huge. I mean, I can list probably 5 or 10 key people who, if I hadn't connected with them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And it's the same for all of us. We have those people who, for one reason or another, were a turning point for us. Either they inspired us to take the next step or motivated us in some way, or they were a connection that got us to the next level. They put us on stage, or they connected us with somebody who helped us get that book published, or whatever that is. And it's something that was really a struggle for me, because I'm not naturally an outgoing person. I am extremely shy. I joke with people that what I remember most about preschool, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade is the color of the carpet in my classrooms, because I hid under tables and desks so much. I was that kid who literally, if the teacher asked me a question, I would hide under my desk because I didn't want to answer it. It was in front of people, right? And now I'm on stage in front of thousands of people, so that just goes to show, seriously, anybody can do it. But it's something that it was hard for me to reach out to people that I felt were above me or at a different level, and be the one to make that connection. But as I learned how to do that and how to reach out, not with the perspective of what can they do for me, but how can I be of service to this person, it changed everything. When I realized that I might not be at people's level in a certain aspect of things, but there are other things that I have value to offer that I can help and be of service with. And the way that I started was looking at Twitter. I've got a list on Twitter, and it changes frequently, of people that I want to connect with. And all I do is I watch their tweets for a question. I watch for them asking for advice, for a resource, for something I can answer. And my goal is just to find a way to be of service to them, because when I do that, it's the best way to connect with them and to be able to start kind of a relationship. And from there, who knows what happens next. But really looking for those key connectors and those people who can help you get to the next level makes a huge difference. So that's the second thing. The third thing would be treat your community the same way. Because one of the things that frustrated me when I was getting started, especially, was people tend to overlook you. People tend to think, you're small, you've got a small audience, and they don't give you the time of day. But the thing they're forgetting is where you're going to be in a year or 5 years or, down the road. And one of the things that I love is people like Debra and Andrea and Laura Lee and Stephanie and a bunch of people that are watching right now that I've connected with. We got an echo. Connected with over the years. We've been able to help each other. Can you hear me okay, Debra?
I can. We have Miguel here. Hi, Miguel. And I think we're getting feedback from you.
How do I disconnect?
Here, I'll do this. Hold on.
Just to really quickly.
Sorry about that, Miguel. But sometimes people get on. That's one of the reasons I've been told about the earbuds. That's supposed to help with the feedback. And so Miguel was using his microphone probably, and he's outside. So I'm not hearing the echo anymore. Are you?
No. Maybe Miguel could put the question in chat. I'd be happy to answer it to kind of wrap up what I'm.
Miguel actually is a great guy. He's a coach, and he's a co-author in a book that we wrote some time ago. Let's see if I can find it.
Okay.
Here we go.
super quick to wrap up the rest of that answer is, don't overlook the people. Oh, no, that's okay. I just wanted to kind of finish the thought was, don't overlook the people who are already around you. Oh, cool. Hey, I have that book. Who you can help each other get to your next level as you build together. I think that's a huge key, because as you all grow and all become more known, you really can help each other with that. And so I think those are three of the things that I would say help you to go from just getting started and not really known yet to building that community and being a little more known, so you've got opportunities and a bigger platform to be able to help more people.
Well, you just reminded me of something that I think Michelle is mentioned in my book. And I think one of the things you talked about in the book was about partnerships. And the book is about cost-effective marketing tools. And if you build partnerships with people, you help one another. And what you said earlier about, how can I help you? It's when you're giving, and you give without the expectation to receive, that I think you find it's the most rewarding, that it works really well for you, and people just want to naturally then help each other. So, for example, you're my guest today on my Blab. How did that happen? It's because you've been so helpful to me, and it was like I knew I wanted to share, your knowledge and your expertise with my audience, and you've done the same for me, not on Blab, because you haven't done it until today. I'm so excited to turn you on to a new platform.
Oh, this is really cool.
So yes, it's wonderful to have role models and mentors, and actually I'll add accountability partners.
Yes.
People that you connect with every so often to say, hey, what's going on? How are your goals coming along? Do you need some help? How can I help you and support you in that? So
absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I like to do things in partnership with others, is there's that built-in accountability of somebody else is depending on you getting your stuff done. And it can really help motivate you to make sure that you do get it done.
I'm going to real quickly, Miguel, who was trying to get online, is saying sorry about the noise. Miguel, did you have a question? If you have a question, you can type it in the comment box. And for those of you who haven't been on a Blab before, if you type a /Q and then your question in the comment box, it'll highlight it so that we can see it more clearly that you do have a question. So it looks like Miguel may have signed off. But with that, I don't see any other questions. And I can open up one more seat unless, Michelle, you're ready to roll on, because we are at almost the hour-and-a-half mark. You can see that Blab can be a little addicting.
Yeah, this is really cool. I love the way that we can see the audience feedback on the side there, and that's awesome.
Well, before we sign off, Michelle, why don't you tell people how they can find you?
I'm in the witness protection program. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so my blog is michelleshaeffer.com. You can find me there. That's the best place to connect with me. You can find me on Twitter too. I think if you click my name, does that take them to Twitter? I guess
it doesn't find out. It doesn't Twitter. So for those of you who are watching, if you see Michelle, well, you should see Michelle's name up in the corner of her image. And if you're not following her on Twitter, there's a little white box with a plus sign. On that, you will now be following her on Twitter. If the box has a color in it, like on my screen, the color when I look at Michelle's box is orange, which means I am already following her on Twitter. There's a little person with a check mark. Michelle, if you're looking at my box, it should be a color, and there should be a little person with a check mark because you follow me. So if you want to follow Michelle or myself, and the little box next to our names is white, then click on that, and then you'll be following us on Twitter. And awesome. The URL for Michelle's website is in the comment box. It's michelleshaeffer.com, and she spells Michelle with 2 L's. And Shaeffer, as you can see on the screen, is SHAEFFER. Yes, and Stephanie is saying she's on the mobile app, and there aren't as many choices. you can, that's one of the things about Blab, you can access it from your iPhone. They, I think, are working on an Android app, but right now it's available on your iPhone or on your computer. So it looks a little different when you're on your phone, obviously, because the screen is smaller. But thank you, everybody, for being here. It's been great, Michelle, to have you here. And hopefully we'll get Michelle someday to Colorado to come visit. But you have been on the market.
I will actually be there in November. I'm coming over for GKIC Post Summit.
So make sure you let me know the dates. There's a little bit of a lapse between Michelle and me. Let me know the dates that you're here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. And everybody make sure you subscribe to Debra's Blab.
And it's the Blab.
How do they do that?
Yes, it's Blab with Debra. Here, I'll type it in the box. Next week,
awesome.
Next week, my guest is going to be Darren Bentley. And Darren started Big Wig Nation, which is a podcast. And within the last year, he's had some awesome, well-known guests on his podcast. So join me next Friday. That's, I believe, God, could that be October already? It might be October 2nd with Darren Bentley. So if you go to Blab with Debra, blabwithdebra.com, you can subscribe to that Blab, and then you'll be notified when it's happening. So again, I want to thank you, Michelle, for being here. Thank you to Stephanie, to Andrea, to some friends that we have in common, to Donovan, who's jumped on board, and all of you who, some of you we haven't met, but we really appreciate you came out and spent an hour and a half with us today on the Marketing Blab with Debra. So, Michelle, it's been my pleasure. Thank you again. Michelle's at michelleshaeffer.com, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Don't forget, you can watch the replay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a heartwarming day. And here's to your sweet success.